Sprite Castle. Sprite Castle. Sprite Castle.
Mr. Rob O'Hara.
Sprite Castle.
Hey, look at that. Things are working more smoothly these days, aren't they? This is turning out pretty good. Hey, before we get started with this week's Sprite Castle plays, let's flip back to this front screen. Just so everybody knows where they can find me, all my podcasts are available over at podcast.robohara.com. If you want to email me feedback about this show or any of my shows, you can always send me a direct email at robohara@robohara.com. You can go join in the conversation at facebook.com/robcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Commodore, or you can call the You Don't Know Flack voicemail podcast hotline at 405-486-YDKF. Sprite Castle is a proud member of the Amigos Retrogaming Network. So if you are one of my Patreon supporters, or one of their Patreon supporters, then you have access to the Amigos Retrogaming Discord server, where there are lots of fun conversations going on, high score competitions going on, people talking about old computers and new computers and all kinds of, as Aaron would say, wacky conversations. So with that out of the way, let's take a look here. Let's make sure the old joystick, yeah, looks like the joystick is hooked up. The old USB adapter. You know, with enough adapters, darn near hook up about anything to anything. And this week, Sprite Castle plays the game that I'm reviewing this week on Sprite Castle and the audio podcast is Lode Runner. So that episode will be coming out Thursday night. So if you want to listen to that episode, you'll be able to find it on the Amigos feed. It should be part of the main Amigos feed, or if you're one of my followers, you will find it on, always find them on podcast.robohara.com. You can always subscribe on to RSS feed or to iTunes or, gosh, just about any place you can find podcasts. In fact, it's interesting that I'm finding my podcast showing up on a lot of podcast places where I didn't put it. And looks like on at least one of those, somebody has monetized it. So they're making money off my podcast. It's a crazy world, people. Well, this is Lode Runner. If you're not familiar with Lode Runner was a game that was literally from the golden age of video games. It was written in 1982 by a single college student named Douglas Smith. And he pitched the game to Broderman. Apparently, he wrote it, it ran originally on a college mainframe, and it didn't quite look like what it does today. It didn't have smooth animation and a lot of the cool features that Lode Runner currently has. And so he went back and retooled it and compiled it. The original version, I believe, was the first version, or it was at least written on an Apple II. Then it was quickly ported to multiple other home computers where it was released on. So if you're not familiar with Lode Runner, what you can see going on here, and this is, by the way, that is a cool zoom effect. That was very advanced technique for 1983 when this game was released. Before the level starts, down there at the bottom, on the very bottom row, you'll see a character that's completely white that's scurrying around, and that is you. You are the Lode Runner, and you are picking up gold packages. Those are packages of gold. Now, Lode Runner has been retooled and re-envisioned many, many times over the years, and it has gone from gold to packages to all different kinds of things. And the enemies that you face have also been changed throughout the years through different versions of Lode Runner. But in the original, and this is the original version you can see here, you are fighting, those are robotic guards from the Bungling Empire. Now, that name may sound vaguely familiar to you, Bungling, and that is because I believe this is the first game. I believe this is the origin of the bungling empire, but bungling became a generic term Broderbund used for many of their games. And the following year after this, there was another game, and it was called Raid on Bungling Bay. And so, in theory, those are the same bunglings that stole your gold in this game. Broderbund just kind of used bungling as a general term to describe enemies in their games. If you've ever played Choplifter, which is another Broderbund game, early computer game, all the people that kidnapped all of the people that you're trying to save are all members of the bungling empire. So anyway, let's get started with playing some Lode Runner. We're just watching the demo here. We can get started by pressing the fire button, and the first level will open up. You'll see this cool zoom technique, which you will eventually get tired of seeing because it's not particularly fast, but it was definitely advanced. You'll see my player character flashing down there in the bottom level. I will flash until I move the joystick in one of four directions. Now, as you can see, there are 3 bungling enemies on the screen, and they will try to come touch me. So if they touch you, you will die. You cannot attack these guys directly, but what you can do is use your laser pistol, which you can see in that artwork there on the bottom left-hand side of the screen, to shoot holes in the brick. Now, there are multiple types of terrain. Everything on here is bricks and ladders, and there's an overhead set of, I believe those are monkey bars or something like that. Like you can kind of see that in the artwork, the cover artwork, which you go over with your hands, which means it doesn't really mean much. But you could drop from there. You could actually fall from any height in this game. It doesn't kill you. So the goal is to get all those packages. Now, those bungling guards that you see there can also pick up packages, which can be an issue later if you can't find them. So let's get started here. I'm going to move to the right. You can see this guy that's about to drop. He had a package. When they fall in a hole, they lose their package. So we're going to run around here. We're going to run up here. We're going to go get this package. Oh, and right into that guy. Just talked about this the other day that I'm not particularly good at playing video games while talking about video games. I'm not that good at playing video games in the first place. And it's definitely a skill that I don't know if you lose it with age or you lose it with lack of use. Either one could probably apply to me. Now the thing is, you have to. There's a couple things going on here. One is that you have to keep track of all 3 of these enemies, and they are all chasing you independently. Sometimes you can find a place to hide where they won't come get you. Let me show you an example of that. I'm going to just kind of sit here. You can kind of split them up that way sometimes too. Now you notice that I can't leave the level. I mean, the way that you win is you leave the level by exiting through the top. But there's no ladder right now that will take me out of the top. And that ladder will only appear once I have collected all the gold of this level. Now I know it makes me very nervous when I'm playing this game and I can't see where all 3 of the guys are and don't have them all on the screen. So this is an example right here where I can kind of hide, and you see that the guys are confused. They don't know which way to go. If I go down, they're going to come chase me this way, and if I go up, they're going to go the other way. Now you can see that there's this last package up here I need to go get now. When I do that, you can see that this last ladder has appeared. And so this ladder, if I follow it, these guys are smart. They've split directions here. Go up, we'll make our escape, and we will go to the next level. This game came with 150 levels, and this is actually one of the very, very, very first, maybe the first commercial game sold that came with its own level editor. So you could create your own Lode Runner levels and save them and trade them with friends who also had a copy of Lode Runner. The reason that it was created was because as Douglas Smith was working on the game, he gave the level editor to his friends so that they could, while they were beta testing the game, they could create levels. And according to legend, a lot of the levels that those kids created ended up in the actual game. So, so again, as we see where, oh, I missed it. Now I'm going to show you, there's a couple techniques for these guys. One is obviously digging that hole that I did, but we'll dig 3 holes here. 3 seems to be about the magic shape. So, oh, I forgot that guy's coming. And you can see those bricks filling in, and I killed those guys, but they immediately respawned up there to the upper left. So you always will have the same amount of enemies no matter what you do. But you can, if you dig a series of holes, trap your enemies in those holes, and if the holes fill up while there's one of those guys in there, it will crush them, but they will respawn. So if you start a level with 3 enemies, there's always going to be 3 enemies on this level. If you fall in a hole and it fills up, then you will crush yourself. There's also a lot of ways. There is a button combination. I believe it's Control A. Double check that, but I'm gonna get a spot where I can. Oh, you see that where I just fell through? That's one of the things I wanted to talk about. There are multiple types of terrain that I talked about. Let's see if I can get these guys to stop here so I can talk for a minute. So there's brick that we can see that I'm on right now, and with brick, I can dig to the left and to the right, whichever way I'm facing. And that is actually a shortcoming of the Commodore 64 version that I'll talk about. But that's brick. Now above me, and I'm pointing to the screen, right? Doesn't really work. But you can see directly above me, past that ladder, there's a section that's solid up there. And that's concrete, and you can't dig on concrete, so that becomes part of your strategy. If I'm stuck up here with bad guys, and they're going to track me down, it's a bad deal. I don't have any defenses there. And obviously, you have to have enough space or time to dig a hole. If you're right in the process of digging, and a guy walks across there, it kind of aborts it. So, and then the third type of terrain that you saw just earlier when I fell through is a trap. And so there are lots of traps. You can't see the traps. I'm going to go run across this one again just so you can see what happens here. But as I run over, see, I just fell through that trap. So I can't get to that ladder because there's a trap there. Let's see where those guys go. I'm going to hold them there for a minute. So yeah, bricks, concrete, traps, and then of course the overhead, in which you could see me going on here like doo-doo-doo-doo. And these guys are not they're not always that hard to confuse, and you could kind of, again, like I said, you could kind of use that technique to split them up. So sometimes if you got a bunch of guys in a line coming toward you, like right now, you notice I can kind of move up just a tad, and it'll send that guy over there. Now you got to watch once you've squished a guy. Got to make sure and see where he respawns. Now I want to show you, if you look down below where I'm at, I can't possibly get to that brick by cutting. Oh, now I'm in trouble. Yeah. You can only dig. It's kind of like how a pawn captures in chess. You can only dig down to the left or down to the right. So you can't get through 2 layers of brick by digging a single hole, because once you're in a hole, you can't dig to the left or the right. And so this is the first level that kind of presents you with that little puzzle. And Lode Runner is very good about presenting you one at a time with little puzzles throughout the game till you figure out how to defeat each one, And so what we're going to have to do, that puzzle over there, is we're going to have to dig 2 layers of holes. 1, 2, go down and dig 1. Now we can dig and get out of that hole. So that's kind of the way those work. There are many, and so this is a good time to segue into a shortcoming of the Commodore 64 version. The Commodore 64 joysticks, if you're not familiar, have a single fire button. There's only one fire button. And so on this version of Lode Runner, you dig depending on the direction that you're facing. And that becomes, oh boy, difficult to do when you're going through many layers like that. The Apple II version, which is the first version of Lode Runner, now you can see as I got the last one, completes the ladder. We can bypass that trap and we can get off this level. The Apple II joystick supports 2 buttons. And so if you play this on an Apple II, you'll find that the 2 buttons correspond with dig left and dig right. I believe if you play with the keyboard, there's also buttons for dig left and dig right. So that technique, that button combination really helps when you're moving from the left to the right and trying to dig down, because you could be running to the right and digging to the left, boom, 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 behind you as you move this way. On the Commodore version, to do that, you have to move, turn around, shoot, move, turn around, shoot, and so on. And so it's much more difficult to pull off. It doesn't make it unplayable, but it makes it less playable than other versions. Now this is, as you can see, before I start each level, again, you want to count how many bad guys. Look, there are 3 bad guys, because quite often as you're playing, you'll lose track of where they are, and you need to scan the screen very quickly and find out where those guys are. Now this is a level where one of the things you'll see, actually this one's not too bad, but there are times where you'll have to kill the bad guys and move them from one side of the screen to the other before you can do certain things. So I've kind of got all these guys bunched together on the left, which is not going to help me. I make a quick run to try to go get these other packages. Yeah, see, I have got too many guys over there, and it's going to make it a little difficult to do what I need to do. Let's go. One thing I'll say about Lode Runner, the controls are very easy as far as getting on ladders and moving around, things like that. It's very easy to get on, off ladders. It doesn't seem to have a lot of the problems that... well, let's do this. Kind of do diagonal and easily get on top of ladders and things like that. The only thing that I will say is that you can also walk right off a ladder. So if you're on a ladder and you're halfway up and you push left, oh, I just beat the level. I just touched the top. But you're going up a long ladder and you push to the right or left, you can walk off the edge of a ladder and fall down, which actually you have to do, and it's a useful technique in the game. But if you're holding the joystick diagonal sometimes or to the side, that can make it difficult. One of the cool things when you have a level editor here, you can see is that you can draw things. And so if you take a look at the artwork there in the bottom left, this is a fairly crude version, simplistic version of the Broderbund logo. You can see the logo on the game there at the very top above the word Lode Runner, and the artwork of the game, or in the game, you can see the ladders they've drawn the Broderbund logo. So this is a level, if I remember right. So let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3. Is there only 3 bad guys on this level? I guess so. Where you've got to split people up. And I'm going to leave that guy here. A little delay there. We could get these. Oh, I'm in trouble, guys. Yeah. So I did mention that you can only dig diagonally to your left or to your right. You can't dig on the holes that are directly the bricks that you're standing on. You can't dig, and so it is possible to fall in a hole and end up in a situation where you can't get out, and the game will not time out or automatically kill you. You will sit there until the end of time. So the game does have a feature. I believe it's Alt-A. This is one of those. situations where you're going to have to move off of ladders left and right. But there are some control keys. There's actually one, I believe, there's a way to turn the zoom effect on and off that we're seeing here. But there is, I think Control A is for abort your life. And you can just basically end the level. So if you end up in a situation where you have trapped yourself and there's no way out, you can do the Control A. You also can't dig where packages, so you always have to move to the side to make that happen. So let's move through here now. I gotta find. Oh, that's that other guy. So you know what's happening? I was killing that guy. I wasn't paying attention. I killed that guy and he respawned back up there. So I want to not kill him. I want to just dig a hole and let him live there. So let's this a little bigger. So Lode Runner is definitely, I mean, it's our early computer game, but it's a fun. It's a combination of. It's obviously an action game, but it's also a puzzle game. That, you have to figure out how to solve a lot of these levels. There. Unfortunately, I saw. You notice when he fell, I saw that he had a package. I wasn't able to grab it. Okay, so now there shouldn't be. Oh no. Let go. Oh no. That didn't work out so well. So yeah, this is Lode Runner. It's a very, very fun game. You're going to find out all kinds of cool stuff about Lode Runner on the next episode of Sprite Castle, so be sure to listen to that. I know that Lode Runner is available for, this is off the top of my head. I'll give more specific information on the podcast, but I played it on the Apple II originally, and like I said, that's what it was once it was ported from mainframes. It ended up on the Apple II, but it was also released on the Commodore 64. It's on the Atari computer. It's on lots of computers, and then later on, it was re-envisioned to. I mean, it was on the PlayStation. There was an updated version on the PlayStation where instead of these bungling robots, they were like little demons that chase you around. So that was kind of an interesting version. But they're always. I mean, the basics of Lode Runner is always the same. It's always getting packages, all the packages on level, digging holes to stop your opponents here, and trying not to die, which I don't always do. There was an arcade version. There's an arcade version of Lode Runner, which is kind of interesting. And on the podcast, I'll talk a little bit about Championship Lode Runner, which is a sequel to Lode Runner with different and more difficult levels, and there was some contest stuff involved. So anyway, that's all I've got right now for Lode Runner. So again, be sure to check your podcast, your podcatcher. It should be Thursday night, Friday morning. You should see a new episode of Sprite Castle where I talk all about Lode Runner. I share some personal memories and give you all the details about this classic game. So anyway, thanks for checking this game out. Definitely check out the podcast, and definitely if you find a copy of Lode Runner for your favorite old retro computer, you should check it out too. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.